I believe that if you're a car enthusiast, when you become a dad, if you can afford it, you should have the coolest, most exciting car you can. And I don't think they get much cooler, much more exciting than an Aston Martin. The problem is with every Aston Martin from DB7 onwards, the term 2+2 very much came into effect. They are far from true four-seaters, and pretty much every Aston Martin pre-DB7 are now unobtainable money. Also, they are all very much classic cars now, not really cars that you're daily, plus there's the question of safety. But there is one Aston Martin that everybody forgets. It's modern enough to daily, safe enough to use with your children today, and has two proper rear seats. I'm talking about the Rapide. And today I'm going to show you why, if you're a dad and you're an Aston Martin fan, this is the affordable Aston Martin dream dad car that you should buy. And if you don't, I reckon you'll regret it one day. Come on, let me show you. My name's Ben. Welcome to Dadcars.
My name's Ben and welcome to Dadcars.
We've got an Aston Martin back on the drive.
Yeah.
Remember? Do you remember how tight it was though in the back of the DB9? Yeah. Look how much space you've got in here.
Wow, that's so cool.
You've got your own doors as well. Right, climb in, girls, and let's go for a drive. What do you think? Is that easier to get into than the DB9?
Yeah. No, it's better.
Better. It's very hot today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we start the car up? Do you remember how cool it is with the glass key?
Let's hear it.
You want to hear it?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, do you miss it? You miss having an Aston? There you go, what about that?
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, there you go, girls. Look, you've got your own air conditioning controls. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we are driving a 2010 Aston Martin Rapide. This is a launch year Aston Martin Rapide, and it's in a wonderful, rare colour scheme. In fact, this is a one-of-one Aston Martin. Now, one-of-one is likely any Aston Martin Rapide which isn't in one of the 50 shades of grey, because all in, they made less than 3,000 of these Aston Martin Rapides. So just to run you through quickly, so the Rapide is special because it's a four-door, true four-seat Aston Martin from the VH platform era. These launched in 2010, and sort of power output-wise, they matched the then 2009 facelift glass key variant of the DB9, like the one that I used to have. So 470 horsepower with these early Rapides, and these are most easily recognisable by the front grille, because in 2013 the Rapide S came out with a massive power improvement to 550 horsepower, and you can spot those a mile off because that magnificent front grille is large even by today's standards. Now, the early Rapides and the early Rapide S's came with the Touchtronic 2 gearbox, the same gearbox that was in my glass key revision 2009 DB9. Then in around 2015, the Rapide S got another revision. So aesthetically, it looked pretty much the same, but it came with the Touchtronic 3 gearbox, the gearbox that was in the Vanquish S2. And that Touchtronic 3 Rapide S is the one that most people lust over because it had a blistering 0 to 60 time, and also, if you're playing top trumps, it could do 200 miles an hour. This, the early Rapide with 470 brake horsepower, obviously being a lot heavier than a DB9. I think it's 190 kilograms heavier than a DB9. This is just shy of 2 tons, but the 0 to 60 can still be done in this in 5 seconds. And girls, we are coming up to national speed limit section. Do you want to see how fast this is?
Yeah.
This is heavier than a DB9, so it won't feel quite as quick, but should we see if 470 horsepower is adequate for this, shall we? Let's drop it down into second. Ready? What do you think? It's still plenty fast enough, isn't it? It's a very wafting, progressive pull, but still more than adequate to still wear the crown, I believe, even the early ones here, as the ultimate Aston dad car. So obviously, girls, in the back there, you've got that very pronounced transmission tunnel, which, you know, they've put some cup holders in there and some climate controls and things. But the good thing about that is that if you two are squabbling, you can't kick each other, can you? The two rear seats have ISOFIX behind this easy to access leather panel. The front passenger seat has an airbag deactivation switch. As you would expect, the boot is the largest of all these VH platform Astons. I had no problem whatsoever getting our double buggy in the back. Also, the seats fold down if you want to do a tip run in your Aston. For a more detailed look at these rear seats, I highly recommend you check out the Rapide S video we did. And before I tell you the two reasons why I think everybody overlooks the Rapide, a quick word from this week's sponsor. So if you're looking to buy an Aston Martin or any used car at the moment, I would recommend that you run a car vertical check on it before you even call up to inquire about it. Certainly before you go to view it. Why? Well, a car vertical report arms you with all the information about that vehicle's past. So when you're talking to the seller, if their story doesn't match up 100% with what's on the report, it's probably a car that you should keep away from. I very recently purchased this Range Rover for my wife, and I ran a car vertical check on it before I even called up and spoke to the seller. And obviously a clean report gave me the confidence to buy this car. However, look here at this Aston Martin DB9. You can see it's got an amber warning there for damage. If we click on that, go down to the pictures, oh Christ, yeah, look, we can see that this one has been involved in a crash. And thanks to Car Vertical, you know that this is one to avoid. So remember, you don't buy a used car without running a Car Vertical check on it first, and you'll save 20% every time you use promo code Dadcars. And a massive thank you to Car Vertical for supporting this channel. Now let's get back to the Aston Martin Rapide. And despite this being the only modern Aston Martin car that can claim to be a proper four-seater, those rear seats have been the subject of heavy criticism over the years. You know, people saying that they're too small. And it's true, they are a bit of a squeeze for adults. But it's important to remember, this was a £140,000 luxury car with a huge engine. And most other luxury cars that kind of fall into that price range, I think there is an anticipation that maybe the owner will sometimes be sat behind and being chauffeured around. But make no mistake, this was never intended to be a car where the owner of it will sit in the back. The owner was supposed to sit here in this driver's seat. And the truth is, every VH platform Aston Martin looks a lot bigger on the outside, and then you are surprised when you sit in on the driver's seat for the first time. It is very tight in here, but for me, it just adds to the special drama that comes along with these cars. And here is the driver. You have this wonderful, familiar waterfall dash, these incredible analog dials, beautiful, high quality leather, wrapped everywhere. Alcantara headline, which is just even more impressive. You see how big this headliner is. This car was spec'd from new with the Bang & Olufsen sound system as well, with those rising tweeters on the dash, again adding to the drama. I think that was a 5K option when this car was new. So this one was probably closer to £150,000. And adjusting for inflation today, that is over 220,000 diluted pounds. But how much can you pick one of these up for today? Remember, these are super rare. These are rarer than a DBS. Less than 3,000 of these were made. Yet today, you can pick up one of these early Rapides for less than £30,000. That is exceptional value for money. I checked this morning, there are 17 Rapides, non-S's, up for sale at the moment on Auto Trader, and I think 6 of them are £30,000 or less. The Rapides aren't as mileage sensitive as the 2+2 Astons either. It's not uncommon to see these with, you know, mileage stretching right up to 100,000 miles. This car that I'm driving here today sits on just 58,000 miles, but I wouldn't let mileage put you off a Rapide as long as it's got stacks and stacks of history and invoices. Driving it around, it does feel like a bigger and heavier vehicle than the DB9, but it is. So that's not a surprise, I suppose. But if you were worried that this was going to be a big wallowing wafter, it still feels every bit as magical as all of the VH platform Aston cars. Oh, I love these so much. So when you consider today, if you're looking to buy a brand new Nissan Qashqai, prices of those start from £30,000. So in relative terms, this is an affordable car. I can't afford one at the moment, unfortunately, otherwise I would buy one. But I think there are two main reasons why people overlook these, why people aren't buying these. And number one is the running costs. So it should come as no surprise that running a 6-litre naturally aspirated V12 Aston Martin, which is now on a cusp of 15 years old, yeah, the running costs are going to be high. Road tax is going to be the top whack, 700 and whatever pounds it is. Insurance, surprisingly, I found it really easy to find insurance quotes for my DB9 that were under £400. So I don't think insurance is going to be expensive. Servicing will be the same as other VH platform V12 Aston, so around £600 for a minor, £900 for a major. Miles per gallon in this heavier car will be less than the DB9, so I would anticipate you will be floating around the teens depending on what speed you're going and what gear you're in. But by far the biggest expense with these Rapides will be general maintenance, and this is the first thing that puts people off these cars. So the DB9 has 13 different modules. Now this will have more modules than that because there's more stuff going on in the back. You've got double the doors, double the windows, extra electronic gubbins, and I think common sense would say that with that added complexity there's more room for more things to go wrong. A couple of examples of that is this car's currently got a child lock fault, so the child lock is always on, which it's better to have it always on than always off if you're using it with your children. Also the windows are double glazed and a couple of them are starting to delaminate, something that you see with a lot of luxury cars from this sort of age. Now, I know a lot of the Bentleys are doing the same. For me, with the DB9, owning it for 2 years, I did 12,000 miles in that time. It cost me a little over £8,000 in those 2 years to service and maintain and fix my Aston Martin to use it as my daily. Although if you buy a well cared for Rapide, I think it's possible that you could service and maintain it for around £2,000 to £3,000 a year. I would advise that you mentally budget in your head for as much as £4,000 to £5,000, certainly for the first year. If it's less, then brilliant. I'd love to be proven wrong. But if you are looking to buy one of these Rapides, if you remember just one thing from this video, is that you must get a proper specialist pre-purchase inspection done on a Rapide. And then just make sure that the price you pay takes into account what needs to be done on the car. It only takes one neglectful previous owner with these cars, and honestly, it can turn your dream into an absolute nightmare. Remember to run a car vertical check as well and use promo code Dadcars to save 20%. And the second reason why I think everybody overlooks the Rapide is that if, like me, you spent your life lusting and dreaming of one day owning an Aston Martin, the chances are it was any one of the other V8 platform cars. If, like me, you've got young children, it's probably only in very recent years that you even started to consider the Rapide. And so for me, it was 18 years of lusting over a DB9. So when that time came, even though the Rapide made a lot more sense, but it just had to be a DB9 for me. And so for so many, I reckon if it's a DBS, if it's a V8 Vantage, a DB9, when the time comes, I think so many people end up buying that car. But look, this is where I think you'll regret not buying a Rapide, particularly if you've only got 1 or 2 children, is it's the usability of this. You know, to say if you're going to do a family trip down to Cornwall, if you've got a Rapide, you could take it. Now, you could squeeze all of the bags into the boot and you could go and make memories in your Aston Martin Rapide with the whole family. It's the usability, the amount of times that you're going to use it. And I think the real value in owning a car like this, which costs you thousands to maintain a year, the real value comes from using it with your family to make memories. If you buy a 2+2 Aston instead, when it comes time for that family holiday, it will instead stay at home in the garage whilst you take your wife's SUV, because that's your only option, and that's not as much fun, is it? Right, let's test the turning circle, girls. Yeah, I'm not surprised it wasn't able to do that. It is a long old beast. I think it's slightly over 5.1 meters long. Who wants to go for ice cream after this?
Yeah.
Yeah? Remember in Daddy's Dadby9 we used to have ice cream in the back? Yeah, we're definitely not going to do that in this one, because I don't think Matt would appreciate that. But I can confirm that this high quality leather cleans up really well. It's very durable. Look, if you're watching this and you're currently trying to decide which car you're going to buy next, either a Kia Sportage or a Nissan Qashqai, I know I'm never going to convince you to buy a Rapide. So that's not what I'm trying to do. Who I'm talking to here are the dads watching who are looking to buy an exceptionally special dad car for around £30,000 to use with their children to make memories, right? This is a car that Aston Martin never should have made. It wasn't a massive success for them. We're so fortunate that we've got this Rapide. If a car like this is ever made again, it will be like a commissioned limited run thing for sultans that cost millions of pounds. You know, a naturally aspirated V12 Super Tourer that you can have your children in the back. This is such a unicorn of a car. Modern enough to be used reliably and regularly. Safe enough to use with your pickles in the back. I mean, these doors have got like aluminium side impact protection bars in them. I'm not saying now's the time to buy because I think that the values are going to instantly skyrocket. I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to go down in value anymore. You know, the fact that you can get a well cared for early Rapide for high 20s, there's no lower for them to go. But what I'm urging you to do is be brave and go with your heart and buy a Rapide. You know, don't at the last minute take a sidestep and just get something that's just a little bit more sensible, a little bit less scary. Yes, my Aston Martin cost me over £8,000 in servicing and maintenance. I also sold it for less than I paid for it, and I haven't got a lot of money. But I do not regret it for 1 second. Those magical memories, you cannot go back in time. Even if you buy a Rapide in 10 years' time because you're in a stronger financial position then, they might not want to spend time with their dad then. Girls, are you always going to want to spend time with me? What? No. What? That's why I'm capturing all these memories on video as well, making these videos so that when you're grown up, you can look back at these videos as well. Remember the time that you spent with your daddykins. Right, we need to say thank you to Matt for bringing this down to us. He watches our channel and he's come down today with his son. So should we say thank you to Harry for letting us drive his car that his dad chauffeurs him around in. Thank you so much, Harry. Should we see if this has got enough power to get around the cyclist? My next Aston Martin, girls, will be a Rapide. What do you think?
Yeah, I want the same car. Yeah,
So that's why if you're a dad, you love Aston Martins, you've got around £30,000 to spend, and you can relatively comfortably afford to maintain one of these, I really do think you'll regret not buying one.